The Seahawks nearly blew a 17-point lead in the fourth quarter, but they held on to beat the Vikings 37-30 last night. Their fifth straight win put Seattle on top of the NFC West and at number 2 in the NFC. Russell Wilson finished with 240 yards and 2 touchdowns, including a knockout 60-yarder to David Moore, but it was the tailback group led by Chris Carson and Rashad Penny who carried Seattle to victory on Monday. So, Shannon, how big of a threat are the Seahawks to come out of the NFC?
Skip, they're a huge threat. I got them just behind New Orleans. It looks like right now they're in the 2 slot. And San Francisco got some tough road ahead of them to try to, they got to go to New Orleans. They still have to go to Seattle again. So it's going to be very interesting how this thing plays out. Skip, but when you look at, they're going to be a tough out because of their quarterback. And their quarterback plays like he's never out of a ball game. And his team knows they're never out of a ball game as long as they have him. Skip, everybody doesn't have the stomach to play these type games. Think about it. They're 9-1 in one-score ball games. 9-1. So they're going to play it close to the vest because, Skip, they're a running team. They almost doubled up Minnesota in time of possession. 39-45 to 20-15. When you run the ball like that, Skip, and the thing is, I think what in Seattle and also Baltimore showed us, just because you run the ball doesn't mean you can't be explosive. Skip, they went for 24 points in a 10-minute and 30-second span in the third and the fourth quarters and basically blew the game open. Now, they turned the ball over and let Minnesota back into the ball game, but it just goes to show you, if you can't stop their run, because they running team Baltimore, this team Seattle, Skip, they limit your possessions. You're not going to get your customary 10, 12 possessions that you normally think you would get in a ball game. They're going to run the 218, 43 attempts, 218. Well, when you run the ball, clock, tick, 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 tick. And you see Kirk Cousins on the sideline just warming up. Okay, it's third down. Let me get this arm loose. Okay, now I got to go sit back down on the bench. Okay, y'all up again, Skip. It's third down. Get this arm loose. Got to go sit back down on the bench. And he just keeps driving the lot. Skip, he's turned himself into a damn good pocket passer. He can throw the ball unbelievable from the pocket. But you still got to worry about his legs because he still can go get that first down, but he's also looking down the field. He's not going straight ahead. He's moving side to side. He's moving laterally. Okay, let me see if DK Metcalf, let me see if Moore, let me see if Lockett is, let me find Hollister, my tight end, who's turned himself into a very good tight end, started the season on the practice squad. They're third in rush, 144 yards a game, and Skip, they get games in this building. Russ doesn't lose at home in the playoffs. And he's beaten some damn good teams. He's 5-0 in the playoffs. Green Bay, we thought that game was over, and somehow he found a way to win. We know the battles that they've had with San Francisco in the playoffs. They don't lose at home with this young man at the play in the quarterback position. Now, Skip, they don't have the names in the secondary. There's no more Sherman. There's no Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor. But they still got Bobby Wagner and K.J. Wright. Jadeveon Clowney is wreaking havoc. They signed Ziggy Ansel, who's, rounding back into shape. Jaron Reed. They're better than you think. And because they played so far north in the Pacific Northwest, Skip, they don't get a lot of credit. But this team is very dangerous. I got them slightly behind New Orleans, but they're going to be they're going to be a tough out for anybody to have to play them. But what's so amazing, Skip, they've lost their games at home. They're undefeated on the road. So they will take their show on the road. And when you get in that building, the 12th man, Skip, it starts getting loud, and you get those pre-snap penalties, and all of a sudden it was 2nd and 5 and now it's 2nd and 10, or it's 3rd and 5 and it's 3rd and 10, and they get to pin their ears back and tee off on you. So they're going to be a tough out. I got them right behind New Orleans.
I did not see what you saw last night from the home team Seattle Seahawks. I have not been particularly impressed with the Seahawks all year. And by the way, this is the flip side of what we just talked about. In the A block of our show, I still can't believe my Cowboys did not close the deal against your Vikings. They had them, they let them off the ropes. And my team did beat these Seahawks, although they're a little better this year, but they did beat them in the playoffs last year. So, again, if my team somehow backs into the division and plays, I don't know, Seattle in the first round or any of these teams.
Oh, you're going to get New Orleans. You're going to get, you'll get San Francisco for this. Yeah.
Maybe San
Might
Francisco.
get Green Bay.
You just don't know. I'm not afraid of any of those teams.
Oh, you better be.
Because my team does have the capability, the nuclear capability to finally explode on somebody. So here's the point of what I've seen. If Dalvin Cook had not gone down in the middle of the third quarter last night, and I still don't know how hurt he is, it looked like when he was on the turf, if we could see that,
It's a bit worrisome.
it looked like he was like crying. Didn't it look like his whole body was like writhing? Wasn't he crying because he thought his season was over?
Yeah.
And he fumbled on the play, but it looked like he got his shoulder knocked down or something.
Right.
And yet, I assume that the x-ray was negative because he didn't stay in the locker room. He came back out and he sat on the bench, and then he said after the game, I could have come back in. I don't know. Could you or not? If you came and sat on the bench, why didn't you try to go?
Well, it looked like he was crying right there. If you, I mean, what?
I don't know.
It's just a freak.
I don't get it.
You worry? Ooh.
But I do have high respect for him because he took over that game at Dallas that night, and it felt like he was about to take over this game.
Nah, he wasn't about to take it.
Yeah, well, listen, it felt like they were starting to take control of this game. And yet, in the end, I will remind you, they cut it to 34-30 with 7:14 left. And what happened? Another one of those idiot kickers. This one, he used to be my kicker, Dan Bailey. He misses the extra point. And it just takes the whole wind out of sails. It was like Michigan the other day against Ohio State. The opening, they go right down and score. And then the kicker, who's been really good all year,
shanked the PAT.
he just missed it. And it just takes all the wind out of it. It's like you look at the sideline and they all go,
They were here?
Yeah.
And I was standing right there watching. You could feel it.
I know, you could just feel it. So it's 34-31. No, it's 34-30. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, now we got to go score another touchdown to win this game. We could have kicked a field goal to tie it. And then the defense rose up again and forced a punt, and Minnesota got it back, and it came down to Kirk Cousins on 4th and 3 from the 42, if we could see that. And it wasn't a bad throw. Irv Smith was just covered on the play. It's just like a bad idea because you're not going to pull this one off.
Right.
But not a bad throw. It's just he had to throw it high and outside because
and Irv is a young tight end. He needs to understand. He needs to stem the guy because when you run it like that, he's going to drive on it.
Right. He's all over the top of you.
Yes.
To where he's going to get his hands on the ball maybe before you are.
Yes.
And the point was that you did have a chance, and then they held him to a field goal, and then there's the kickoff, and they fumbled the kickoff with 20 seconds left.
Yeah, that's why backs don't. That's why he's back there to block.
That's why you can't do that. That is true. So here's why I'm not completely sold on Seattle. If you look at their history so far this year at home, look at what's happened. They barely held off Cincinnati 21-20. Then the Saints go in there with Teddy Bridgewater in his first start for these Saints. It was 33-14 New Orleans with 3 minutes left in the game. And Russ, as he usually does, had put on a furious rally and cut it to 33-27, but they still lost. Then they held off the Rams 30-29. Then they held off the Bucks in overtime, 34-30. And Lamar went in there and just cleaned them out. It was 30-16, Baltimore over Seattle. And then last night, again, it was a nip-tuck game. And again, if Dalvin Cook is still on the field, I don't know. I felt like Minnesota had a real shot to win.
Well, let me tell you right now, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get Minnesota, Green Bay, Seattle, or the 49ers.
Good.
That's who you're going to get.
Bring them on.
And you're going home. If you're lucky.
We're already home.
That's who Philadelphia.
We're playing at home.
Actually, that's who Philadelphia's going to get.
Okay. Well, I think you're sort of conceding that.
Philadelphia. I don't trust you.
Yeah.
Y'all doing all that talking.
I told you, there's one place I do trust my team to win, and it's at Philadelphia. I just do. I feel good about it.
Well, maybe you should play your playoff games in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Because you're definitely not winning at home in the playoffs.
Well.
Which it won't be there, so I don't know why we have this discussion.
What happened last year when Russell visited Dallas?
This is a different Russ.
Yeah.
This Russ is in the MVP conversation.
Really?
Yep.
Because last year, he barely had over 100 yards passing until the bitter end, and then when it got to 24-12.
Hold on. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jenny. Does the game, did they add a new rule where the game gets played in 4 quarters? Oh, they just play 2 quarters. That's what you tell me all the time.
I know, but this game was almost over. At the 2-minute warning, he had like 130 yards passing, and then he had little Tyler Lockett for like 60 yards, and then he got up to 230 yards.
Okay. Everybody thought the game, remember when, it was Russell threw that interception to Morgan Burnett, and they were down. And they said the game's over. With 5 minutes left in the ball game, they said the game's over. And what happened, Skip? Tell the people what happened at home in 2014. Who went to the Super Bowl? So, and you don't have Aaron Rodgers.
Okay. Well, right now it looks like I'm going to have a home playoff game. So that's
you're not having a home. Philly will have a home playoff game. You will be at, like you said, you are already at home. You will be at home.
So Russell wasn't scintillating last night. He had QBR 52. He was okay.
Yeah, the man they had 200. So what you want him to throw for 300 and have 200 yards rushing?
To your point, they had 218 rushing. That will work.
Yes.
Yes.
On 43 attempts. When last time the Cowboys had 200 yards rushing?
I'd like to see Zeke go for 218
I
in
bet
Chicago.
you. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. Khalil Mack says it's not in my house.
Really?
Yep.
I don't think he stops the run quite the way he rushes the
But that's what they got them like. That's what they got on Roquan Smith, Floyd. We'll see.
Okay.
Eddie Jack gonna pick him off a couple of times. I got the Bears right now.
I don't know. Not sold on any of these teams. I think the NFC is still wide open. Wide open.
Wait a minute. What you mean you're not sold on any team? You got your team giving pep talks. Talk about how chippy they are. They've lost 3. Hold on. They've lost how many games of the last 6? Like 4 or 5?
4 of the last 6?
4 of the last 6, and you were talking about 8. You're not sold. Who sold on the Cowboys?
Okay, this is why it's so agonizing to me, because my team's still really good. You said yesterday, this team is loaded. That's the word you used. The Cowboys are loaded. What if they just suddenly, inexplicably detonate?
Loaded gun ain't dangerous.
Yep.
Loaded gun ain't dangerous. You got to have somebody do something with it, all right?
Okay.
So y'all can't do nothing with it. Your guys can't do anything with that loaded team.
They've lost 6 of 9.
What?
Excuse me, I had those numbers.
6 or 9?
Because they went 3-0, and now they're 6 and 6.
Sure that you had those
Whoa. How is that possible? How I want to know, how is a loaded team with Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper, the best offensive line in football, how they lose 6 of the next 9?
Lost their winning edge.
They have
Lost
no winning
their way.
First